Hello, welcome back to the podcast IT Coach for Small Business Leaders. I'm Josh Davis, the Vice President of Marketing at Infosystems, and with me is the host of this podcast, Aaron Swann, Virtual CIO and the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning. So, Aaron, what are we talking about today?
We are going to be discussing firewalls today.
Nice, something that I think I might know what it is, but I'm sure it's not even close to what it actually
I don't know if
does.
that's true.
So I did hear recently someone that I work with fairly regularly asked me why they would need a firewall, and I didn't really have a clear answer other than to say, hey, it keeps the bad guys out. I'm sure you can add some to that conversation. So
that's a very good start. So let's talk about the term firewall to start with.
Yeah.
Think about in the building industry, in construction, a firewall is a very solid wall that's designed to prevent or at least inhibit fire spreading between rooms or between buildings or something like that. So it's designed to prevent damage. So in an IT setting, a firewall is much the same thing. It's designed to keep the bad stuff out, the bad people or the bad software. So it sits on the perimeter between the internet and your local network. So do you need one? Yes, absolutely. You know, if you think about, we'll go back to the building example a moment. You know, when we construct buildings, we have codes, right?
Yeah.
Building codes that you have to follow, and inspectors come in and make sure that you are. Well, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, in perspective, you know, in the IT world, we don't necessarily have inspectors that come in and require things. Yeah. But if we did, I think firewalls would be one of those things. It's just a must.
Must-have.
Yeah, it's a must-have. It's a basic line of defense for your systems.
Must-have for really big businesses, and you know, small mom and pop companies don't need it.
No, absolutely. Small mom companies do need it.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't say there's a network out there. Look, I have a firewall on my home network.
Okay.
Maybe I'm a little paranoid, but I think it's just a must.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good information.
Sure.
So what else do we need to know about firewalls? And if I don't have one today in my business, how do I go about implementing one?
Sure. So we're going to be talking about today the topic of firewalls. We're continuing our series on managed services. And so we're going to be talking about not only the features of a firewall, but how an MSP or a managed service provider can help manage that firewall for you.
Yeah.
So areas of management could include something as simple as up-down, right? So, you know, the very basics, and, you know, we've talked before in previous episodes about different types of managed service providers. And so one that all of them would have in common is my firewall up, is it down? Because that's kind of important to know. Even in the off hours when you're not actively working or at the office, you may need to know that your firewall is up and running, because you may have servers behind it that need to be accessed, you know, 24 hours a day. So that's one thing that's constantly being monitored. Beyond that, though, then you get into policies. So let's go back one more time to our example of in a building, you have a firewall. Well, a wall by itself is great in that it stops things, but things have to pass through that wall too, right? I mean,
right.
Cables, pipes, people. Yeah, exactly. And so you have to have things in place, such as holes poked in that wall to allow the pipes, allow the cables, a door to allow the people to get through. And so a IT firewall is much the same way. There's got to be exceptions to allow the desirable traffic to get in and to let the desirable traffic to get out. So it's a two-way policy thing. What people can get in from the outside into your systems and what kind of traffic. You can also control what your people inside the firewall can do out on the internet. And there's a variety of ways to do that, but one of those is just through policies.
We'll be back with the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders podcast after we pause for this special message. Did you know that you can book a personal IT strategy session with Aaron Swann, host of the IT Coach for Small Business Leaders podcast? We created this podcast to be a valuable resource for small business leaders in our community, but we wanted to take it one step further. You can book a free meeting with Aaron Swann to review your IT strategy and help build a plan that will lead to IT success. Just visit our website at www.infosystems.biz, follow the link to book your IT strategy session, and you'll be able to work directly with Aaron to build your IT success strategy. Now back to the podcast.
When you say policies, is this something like if I buy a firewall, plug it in at my place of business in the right way, is it just a set it and then leave it alone type thing, or are there specific configurations that have to be made to it?
Sure. Well, it depends on your business. Generally speaking, when you first get a firewall and put it in, the default policies are going to look something like, we're going to allow everything from the inside out to go out, and we're going to deny everything from the outside coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It may be that works for your business. Probably not. There's
Yeah.
probably going to need to be some tweaking there. You probably do want to put some restrictions on what your end users can do going out, and you may need to allow some things from the outside to come in.
Yeah.
And that's likely to change over time too, as your business grows and changes, gets different software, uses different things on the internet. So there is a need for that to change. And so something an MSP can do for you is help you keep up with those policies and change them. Another reason why they might change over time is different threats.
Mm-hmm.
As the threat landscape keeps changing, the bad actors find different ways they can get in. So you may need to make policy changes over time to protect your business.
I got you. So there is a little bit of work involved.
Sure.
And I assume small businesses probably need to bring in some outside help to get that set up the right way.
Yeah. Beyond that then, so, you have those policies, content filtering. It's similar, but another thing is just controlling the websites that your users can go to. And that can be done, if you think about the internet as a constantly ever-changing, system. And so every day new websites pop up, old websites go away. And so you're constantly, those content filtering policies need to be updated and tweaked to make sure. And you can do that based on categories. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not having to look at every single website, but you can decide what categories you're going to allow in.
Now, I know here at Infosystems, there have been times where people have tried to share stuff with me on Dropbox, and Dropbox just happens to be a website that our company filters out.
Right.
So I can't even go to that website when I'm on our local network.
Sure.
I guess that's an example of the
Yeah, absolutely.
content filtering.
Yeah, and things like that can also be fine-tuned. We find that you have an individual in your business that has a business need for something that the rest don't. A good example of that is YouTube, right? YouTube is a great time waster,
Yeah.
but it's also a legitimate business need. This podcast, for example, gets broadcast on YouTube. So obviously you have a business need to be able to access YouTube for your job function.
Right.
Other people maybe not so much. That's something that needs to be tweaked over time.
Yeah, so the guy hiding in the corner trying to watch movies all day,
Right.
we might not want to give access to YouTube, but if you
Exactly.
actually want to upload business videos,
Right.
kind of need access.
You do. Another category would be antivirus, anti-spyware. Those things that need to be tweaked over time. Definitions keep updated for that. Intrusion detection is another area. Those systems that are actually looking for active threats and attacks that may be trying to come in. Detection and prevention. Geofilters is another system that's evolved into firewalls that allows you to filter based on where the originating traffic comes from, what part of the world. So if you know that a particular area, unfortunately China is one that we see a lot of attacks come in from,
Yeah.
you can literally filter that out and say, okay, China is not allowed to come in, well, except for maybe one or two sites within there, because you could have legitimate business interests there.
Yeah.
VPN. So a lot of times your firewall is also your virtual private network provider, whether that be remote access for an end user, so a client to come in, or a site-to-site VPN between branches of a business, or perhaps business partners allow you in. So all those things need setting up, and then they need tweaking over time. VPNs, typically you may have to change your encryption key from time to time to help maintain security, support end users as they're trying to get in. Routing, a lot of times your firewall is your hub for routing in your network. It may be a DHCP server handing out IP addresses. And then firmware, you're going to have to keep the firmware updated on it. as threats continue to evolve, it's important that you keep your firewall up to date. And so you can have a managed service provider watching for that. They're in contact with the manufacturer, see when those firmware releases come out, make a decision when it makes most sense to implement it.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I would talk about life cycle, just the idea that there's a couple reasons why you might need to upgrade, replace your firewall from time to time. One is simply age, right? So after a period of anywhere from 3 to 5 years, typically it's time to put a new system in. Another one might be, and this is particularly true in here in Chattanooga, we're blessed with, really nice internet speeds. And so it's a common thing for a business to buy an upgraded internet package. Their old firewall may not have been sized for that, and so it's important to have your firewall match the speed. Otherwise, it becomes a bottleneck, and you don't get what you're paying for.
Well, not just firewall. There may be multiple network components
Sure.
that, if you want to upgrade your internet speed, have to be replaced.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good summary of just kind of a snapshot of what all a firewall can do for you in your business and what needs to be managed for it.
So if a firewall is a must-have, it does require a little bit of outside help to get set up and configured properly. And
Yes.
then most companies that don't have dedicated IT people to manage it might want help managing that on an ongoing basis. If somebody's listening today and they don't have a firewall in place, might need one, how would they go about working with you to put one in place?
Sure. Just give us a call here. This is a bread and butter item for us, right? Because it is a must-have. We literally have deployed hundreds of firewalls out there,
Yeah.
from everything from the mom and pop organizations to the large organizations. So it's not something that's super complex for us because we do it on a daily basis. It can seem overwhelming if it's not something that you touch every day, but it's not too bad.
And I will add in there, I think it was this year, at one point I was talking to a local nonprofit, and they had asked us to come in to quote some renewals for the software maintenance on whatever hardware components. It might have been firewall or switch, I can't remember, but it turned out once we checked out the renewal for them that the cost of the renewal was going to be more
Right.
than the cost of just purchasing a new component. And the reason for that was because whoever sold them their original component did not size it correctly. They sold them a large enterprise grade
Right.
component instead of something that was actually sized for what they're doing. So, one of the things I love about our team, when you go out to meet with people and the other people before something is implemented, we always sort of take a step back and say, let's look at your business first and make sure
Right.
this item you're looking for makes sense and gets sized properly. So I think that's just a fantastic service.
Yeah, it's super important to size it properly. And one other thing I'll insert on that is, making sure that you get what's right to protect your business. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a business and find something it's a router really, and it's really designed for home.
Yeah.
They bought it at a local Best Buy or a Walmart or something like that, and it routes the internet. It's getting through there and provides a basic level of protection that you might want in a home. It's just not appropriate for a business, and a
Sure.
lot of times those are bottlenecks for the speed as well. So it's important to get a good professional to help you size it properly.
Good info. So I guess we're wrapping this episode up.
I think so.
What are we going to be talking about next time?
Next time we're going to be talking about a help desk, just the idea of getting someone to help your end users with their daily IT issues.
Sounds like a good topic.
Okay,
Everybody needs help sometimes.
they do.
So thanks everybody for tuning in today. Hopefully you'll listen to more episodes in the future. We love talking with you. Thank you very much, and see you next time.